Yo, what's up? In this episode of Testimony, a musician story presented by Sound Seekers, rapper and singer Hulvey shares his Christian testimony. Hulvey talks about how God told him to drop out of college and pursue music. Hulvey then moved to Atlanta, and less than a year later, he was signed to Lecraes Reach Records. He also discusses the importance of mentorship and wisdom. Additionally, Hulvey breaks down Back in the Wick, Reasons featuring Lecrae and Sir Cena, We Against the World featuring Andy Mineo, and Eternal in the 4-song breakdown. I am Gaelica Brown, and this is Sound Seekers Presents Testimony, a musician's story. And let's start with your first music memory. The first thing you remember, whether it be a music video, song, what?
Yeah, I was a kid. I think I was like 5. I remember being at my grandparents' house and they had like this Elvis doll that they gave me for Christmas. It was like one of those ones that stand on like a round stand. And I remember it was like a dancing Elvis doll. And it was playing that song, A Little Less Conversation. I just remember dancing to it. And that became like my favorite Elvis song, like ever. Like one of my favorite songs in general. So yeah, that's like my first touch point, I think, with music that I really remember.
I mean, Elvis is a good touch point for sure.
Yeah.
He sticks with you. That's interesting. Like I ask this question to a lot of people, and you get Michael Jackson a lot, never Elvis. But I mean, Elvis was before Michael, and he had that same effect on people.
Oh yeah, no, he did. I think his it was really like his charisma, you know what I mean? Like his whole just focus and too, he was just fun, you know what I mean? And that's why him and Mike are a lot alike though. They both could dance, and like they both had like their own own thing, you know what I mean? Their own staple things about them.
Yeah. I mean, they were both performers, entertainers. They were we don't have too many of those these days, so they stand out. And let's move on to your childhood growing up. So you were raised in Brunswick, Georgia?
Brunswick, Georgia, yep.
So for those who aren't from Georgia and aren't familiar with that area, like, where is that in correlation to Atlanta, and how is it? Is it suburbs?
Yeah, so Brunswick, Georgia is southeast Georgia. So it's an hour from Jacksonville, Florida, an hour from Savannah, Georgia. So it's kind of like in that cove, like near the beach and stuff. So it's a coastal town, and it's 5 hours from Atlanta. So Atlanta's like North Georgia, Brunswick, South Georgia. So to get some correlation, it's about five hours.
And it was a beach town.
Yeah, So like, I don't know if you've ever heard of St. Simon's Island or Jekyll Island, but it's near. It's the same community as St. Simon's and Jekyll. So it's a city, but it's like a coastal town because most people move there for the beach or just want to go to the beach. So I mean, I would go a lot, but I was like in college in Brunswick. Like I would go to the beach a lot. So yeah.
So what did you do growing up there? Like,
yeah, we first of all went to the beach because my mom, my dad loved it. When I was a kid, I didn't like it. I do now, but I didn't like it. But we would go to the beach.
All kids like the beach.
Huh?
I thought all kids like the beach.
No, what I didn't like was I get in the water and then I'd be like, man, it just made me feel like you feel all sticky because like the water is just full of salt. So like you get out and you just feel so sticky. And as a kid, I just didn't. It just what wasn't for me. But we would go to the beach. Grew up going to church a lot. So back in Brunswick, there's tons of churches. There's literally like 300 churches back home, which is for an 80,000 population. That's a lot of churches. And it's like a concern for me more than it is like a good thing, but there's 300 churches. And then
why do you say it's a concern for you?
Because I feel like man, Christ died for us to be one. And I think 300 churches says a lot about how we think about unity and about like the body. Like if we cared about there being one body, I think we'd fight more for it. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying you can't have like different places, but it's just like we are the church, and the fact that the bride of Christ is not united in that way is concerning. But it's also an opportunity because like we can, you know, it just takes one or two people or three or four or five to help, you know, unite the body of Christ. So yeah.
Valid points on both ends.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have siblings?
Yeah. I got two brothers. They're both my younger brothers. So I got one, he's in college. And the other brother I have, he is in middle school, so he's in 8th grade.
All right.
Yeah.
So you're the oldest, 3 boys.
I'm the oldest.
Mm-hmm. Two-parent household?
Yeah, two-parent household, yeah.
And you said that you guys went to church, so it was a Christian household?
Yeah, it was a Christian household, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, like, what was the frequency of your church going?
Wait, explain that. Like,
was it a weekly thing?
Oh yeah. No, we went every week. Yeah, every week. I think it was just like we went every week, but for me, like I didn't grow until I was actually like seeking Him myself. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So when did you start seeking Him yourself?
Yeah, I really started going after Him around like high school and especially college. Like in middle school, I had a heart for Him, but I just like, I don't know, I just didn't really go after Him. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not a bad thing. It's more so just growth. Okay. But I really started to know Him like in high school and in college, especially college. College was a season for me where I just got really hungry and started to go after Him so hard, like, and started to just know His voice. And yeah.
So what was it about high school that made you really develop this heart and want to go for Him?
Yeah. I went on a mission trip with went on a mission trip. Are you good? Mm-hmm. I went on a mission trip with a dude named Doug Pierce. He's my mentor. And so it was him and a group of students from the church I was at. And I remember going, it was in Memphis, Tennessee. And like, I saw some of the craziest things I've ever seen. Like, on one standpoint, and this isn't the most important part, but still, like, I saw like a man with like 6 infused vertebrae like healed in the name of Jesus. I saw like a woman like in a gas station, like drooling out her mouth, like crazy stuff, healed. Like really just wild stuff, like a drunk woman in a gas station, like sober, like really strange stuff that I can't deny because I saw it.
Yeah.
And like I saw what he did. And more so than that, I saw like people's hearts getting pierced and like people like being convicted and like in beautiful ways, and people like their hearts desiring Him. And then I had a moment for myself where I was in a room. It was me and Doug, and I remember literally like hearing Jesus like speak to me, not like out loud, but like in my heart. And I remember hearing Him just say, "Follow me." And I started breaking down crying, and I was crying for like 30 minutes. I just remember that being so beautiful because like, man, like just hearing Him, like knowing that He would choose me is incredible. I don't deserve Him, you know what I mean? But He chose me. And yeah.
I mean, I guess that will do it. So that if that doesn't, make you more curious and want you to go more after God, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And so then you say you go to college, and college is where you really went. Why is that?
Oh yeah. Like I'm talking like I was seeing everything differently. Like seeing Him differently, like in a way of like how truly real He is, the fact that He's in me. Like even like, I remember like with girls and stuff too. Like I remember just seeing all of them like as my sisters. Like my eyes were changing, like for real. Like the way I was seeing people, like seeing the potential in them, seeing like the opportunity for them to know him. Like I remember just yeah, I was just having like so many opportunities on campus to just pour in and be there for people and help them, you know what I mean? Like through their stuff. And yeah, yeah. And I remember just even for myself, it was just such an intimacy with God where I was spending every day with him. Like there's like a little spot that I had like that I'll go duck off to every single day and just be with him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was big for me because, you know, it's easy to talk about God. It's another thing to know God and to know him personally, you know?
Facts, facts. And where did you go to college?
College of Coastal Georgia.
So, and you stayed on campus then?
No, actually, I was a commuter, but I was there so much that everybody thought I stayed on campus.
Okay.
I was there all the time, like all the time. And I loved it. So,
Were you
yeah.
involved in
Oh,
any
yeah.
organizations?
Yeah, I would like go, not, I wasn't involved in any like positions, but I would, I would go to like the on-campus ministry and stuff, which was cool. But I found my biggest ministry was just people,
Yeah, yeah.
like just loving people. Um, and around that time too, like I was getting discipled a lot, like outside of the college, like by my mentor Doug, and um, yeah, yeah. So I was definitely like super involved. Like I did intramurals, like I played intramural basketball, um, and I just be on campus a whole lot, just having fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, when do you officially say that you gave your life to Christ? Would you say it was
Oh yeah.
in high school?
It's so funny because for me, I feel like there ain't no time stamp. It was just a time on my heart. I just realized, like, man, like you've paid it off for me, and you know, like I love you, and you set me free. Like, but so like honestly, when I was a kid, like 4, I said the prayer and did all this stuff. So in the world's eyes, that might be good, but for me, like it was sometime around high school, college, where something clicked in my heart with him. So to be honest, like I don't really have a time frame. And I love that for myself because it was never about religion. It was never about knowing. It was about knowing. And like he came he like showed me him. You know what I mean? Like and he found me. You know what I mean? So yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that. So, for those who aren't watching and only listening, when he said about knowing and knowing, was knowing he pointed at his head, and then knowing, and then he pointed at his heart. So,
Yeah.
big difference there.
Big difference.
And you've mentioned Doug, your mentor, a few times. How like important and just valuable and just any Christian's walk or just a person's walk do you think is mentorship, discipleship?
It's huge. It's huge. Like I just find it hard to think that you can really, really grow without being discipled. Like you can grow, but if you want wisdom,
Right.
you ain't gonna get wisdom from somebody that's on the same page as you.
Mm.
Like Doug gave me this analogy. It's like 2 people in the sand and they stuck and their heads are poking out, trying to figure out a way out, but they're both looking at each other and they don't know how to get out. It takes somebody that's walking on the sand to be like, hey, bro, I got you. Let me dig you up. So it's like, you got to have wisdom. Like, you know what I mean? Like it takes somebody with wisdom, with life, that's been through life.
Yeah.
But that's what, like, also going at, like, being mentored by somebody that you see him in. Because there's people that don't mentor people, but I don't necessarily mean that, like, they're being discipled by somebody who's full of the spirit. They still could get good things and learn. But for me, with Doug, it's like he points me to him every time.
Yeah.
Like, legit, like, to him. Like, that's it. And that's why I think I value him so much. Because, like, man, this dude just cares about him. And that's rare right now. even like in church, a lot of people ain't for that. A lot of people want to talk about all the blessings and the things and the stuff and the events and the this and the that. It's like, man, it's about him.
Right.
If we simply realize just gazing at him would just, that makes him like, that literally makes God's heart beat faster just looking at him. So it's like, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
You know?
No. Like everything that you're saying is super like valid and important. I agree. I mean, I've been blessed with having like great discipleship and really strong relationships, and like being like then getting to the point where years later, because you said it's about the wisdom, and wisdom is so important. So then being able to then use that same wisdom that was given to you on other people, but like unconsciously. Because I've been in situations where like there have been people who are like, you know, newer to the faith coming in, and they're saying things, and they're like maybe 5, 6 years ago, I would have nothing to say. Like I wouldn't even know what. And then automatically like things are coming out of my mouth and they're like, wow, that's a really good point. And I'm like, wow, that's literally something that like my mentor told me like 5 years ago.
And yeah, it's because it's walked in your life, I think. Like when it's in your life, like it's gonna come out. It's just real. Like, you know what? What's that verse? Like out of your mouth, from your heart is like how you speak, basically. Like, man, what you're passionate about is gonna come out. Like it's gonna come out in your speech.
For real. Okay. So let's move on to more current times.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your engagement.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. It's a blessing.
You're one of the people in history now that were engaged during a pandemic.
I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. That joint, man, we thought we had plans. Man, that pandemic knocked us out because we're long distance too. So for like 2 months, like dating, like we weren't even seeing each other. Like at the beginning, like first couple months.
So like this,
which was so beautiful. It was beautiful though. Like to be honest with you, like looking back, I'm like, man, I'm thankful for that because it showed us how committed we were like to each other. You know.
So where is the distance? You're in Georgia and
she's in Texas and Houston. I'm actually in Houston right now, which is pretty cool. So yeah, she's out here in Texas.
All right. And okay, so the first couple of months you guys aren't seeing each other, strictly just long distance. How often were you seeing each other before then?
Because it was like early, probably like we saw each other like once in January and like twice or 3 times in February, and then like 2 months of nothing.
Yeah.
That was hard. For sure.
I'm sure, for real.
But then like the growth, like, because we were committed to each other, like the growth from that. Because if you really ain't about it, most people would have probably dipped. Like, hey, it's just not going to work. Like, we ain't going to even see each other. But for us, like, I'm going to be honest, I knew I was going to marry her, like, from the beginning. So for me, it ain't really it wasn't no thing for me. Yeah. Like, because I knew, like, what I was going after. So, yeah, that's what was dope about it, you know?
Right on. Yeah, the pandemic definitely made or break couples, so.
Yeah.
So then when was your decision? You said that you already knew you wanted to marry her, but when did you
propose? Yeah, I proposed in October.
Right on.
Yeah.
And I saw the video on your IG, so if anyone wants to see that, they have it. It's very beautiful. You surprised her. How did you even pull that off? Because it looked like a family.
Teamwork with her friends. Like her friends, you know, women are just more creative. So like they were helping me like get all the details, but like I definitely wanted to do like passing out like a note to each like location she went to, scavenger hunt. But it was like a bunch of ideas. Like all of us were kind of helping. So it was a team effort. Like I can't take all the credit.
Right on. Well, again, congratulations.
Thank you.
And how would you say that God's presence looks like in your life personally, outside of the music, just your personal life?
Yeah, his presence, like, to be honest, it's such an interesting question because like he's in me and he's present right now. So even like if I could just stop and pause, it's like because he's in me, I can feel his presence. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like everywhere I go because he's
Mhm.
in me and I carry him like I'm his temple. So like
Mhm.
yeah, I guess that's like the way to answer it. Like at least for me personally, is that his spirit's one with my spirit, and he'll like if I say something that's like from his heart, like he'll affirm it with his presence,
Mhm.
like in me,
Yeah.
which is really crazy. Like that he would allow us to have that. Or if something strange is going on, like I get like this weird like tingling like in my spine, like this weird feeling, and
Mm.
like it's just discernment because he's in me
Spidey
and he gives
senses.
me that, huh?
Your spidey senses.
Hmm.
but
Exactly, exactly.
but you say
Yeah,
it's discernment. Okay.
yeah, well, yeah. Like so, his presence, like when I'm gazed on him, like he's showing me, like he's reminding me, like, yeah, son, like stay here, because like his presence, like it's hard because like I don't need the feeling to, to know that he's in me,
Mhm.
but it's a blessing to know that he will like he'll manifest himself like to me, like through
Mhm.
his presence, which is beautiful, you know.
It
Yeah,
is. It's beautifully put. All right. So we're gonna move forward to what I call a hot topic, what's trending. Something a little bit more off you for a minute.
yeah.
So what's trending right now? The internet's like just on fire, and was excited to see Beyonce and Jay-Z at the Grammys.
Mm.
And I don't know if you watched the Grammys. I didn't.
I usually do, but I didn't this year. I
Yeah,
actually did. I was mad. I missed them. I was like, dang.
it just kind of popped up. It was like, oh, the Grammys are on.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
But apparently they made an appearance. They came in late, kind of snuck in, sat by the exit. Like the camera caught them, glazed over them. And that one little camera glaze, like people were like, oh my gosh, it's Beyonce and Jay.
yeah,
And they're just like, people just love them. Um,
yeah,
and so my question is, like, they obviously have mad influence on people. And
yeah.
should couples be aware of their potential influence on people? Is it like a conversation that influential couples should have, regardless of like your fame status? Like, I mean,
Oh
you
yeah. I
yourself
mean,
and your fiance. I mean, you
you
would.
should totally, um, you should totally be aware of like any type of favor or influence that you get with anybody, like in personal relationships, like because man, you can use that like in power, like you can leverage that in ways that like especially like knowing him, like you can leverage that in ways that are incredible. Like, because there's like even with me and Rachel, like students like at her church, like we get so many opportunities to pour into them because they look up to us.
Mm-hmm.
So together, it's like team discipleship. You know what I mean? Where together you both get to pour in. So yeah, no, you should be totally aware of it as a couple, like for
Wow.
real.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think there's like a different like some people that's their focus.
Yeah.
Like I want it to be like, hey, like this is an opportunity, but our focus is on God, like on Him, but not on like trying to influence people. But influencing people is definitely a tool. Like I think it's all a tool to point people back to God like every time. If
Mm-hmm.
I don't do that, like what am I doing? You know?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And you mentioned your fiance Rachel. Is it Rachel Melanson?
Milan son, yeah.
Okay. So like people in her church, look up to you guys. And just looking at your IG, like I saw that she's a beauty pageant winner, she's an author, has a book. I'm enough with like I'm Black enough kind of in the
Yeah. Uh-huh.
not exactly in the title. I mean, she sounds like a really interesting person with an
Yeah.
interesting story as well. So it just seems like with the two of you together that you definitely would be an influential couple within the
Oh
space,
yeah.
people who know you
No,
guys.
it's been so cool because like we both have our own testimony, and God has like He's shone through us in beautiful ways and in two different contexts. Like, you know, for her, like just her story of self-worth,
Mm-hmm.
like especially to girls, like it always translates because that's just something that seems like I'm not a woman, so I don't understand, but women go through that, you know what I mean? And guys do too, but like I think her message just really relates to a lot of, especially what's going on right now, just so much social media and comparison and stuff. Just embracing who God made you to be, you know. For me, like I'm more translating to them kids that the good kids that feel like, oh, I did all the good, but it's like, hey, like you're supposed to know him. Or the kids that just feel counted out. Like that's my story. You know what I mean? Where, you know, people ain't think I was all this and that. And that's the beautiful part. Like I didn't have to be, you know, he gave me my values. So both of us have interesting stories, and at the end of the day, like his grace is at the center of all of it. So
Right, right. Okay.
yeah.
And talking about being counted out and people not really like thinking that you have all that. I'm not sure what exactly your words just were, but let's talk about music and how you even got started in it.
Yeah. So I was in middle school, and I remember just freestyle rapping, battle rapping, and that was like my hobby. Like I would battle rap kids in the locker room, and I loved it. It was just something I loved to do, even in the hallways. Then I'm trying to remember.
I mean, how did you even get into battle rap? Because that's not something.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, I was it was more so like through friends who like put me on to Eminem and stuff,
Mm,
and then you know what I mean, just kind of
yeah.
happened. Like, cause like a lot of kids try to rap like in school. So I was with my friend one day. Actually, I remember I was in the bleachers with him, we would wait in the bleachers before school. So I was in the bleachers with him, and I just started just roasting him, and it ended up being good. Like, ended up being kind of funny. So I was like, oh, I like this. I just kept doing it.
Okay.
Like, and then I did like a little song, like for like a I don't know if you know like PTA, like the parent events they
Hmm.
be doing. I
Yeah.
did like a song for like a PTA event
Okay.
thing and like won. And then it was me and my friend Jalen. And then when I was in high school, then I really started like making songs. Like at that time I'm making songs, making like my own beats, everything. And then because I entered like a couple talent shows in high school, just like was writing my own raps on notebooks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's like what I was doing and putting stuff on SoundCloud. So yeah, that's kind of like the origin, like
Okay.
of all that stuff, like school stuff.
And the stuff that you were making and putting out, was that Christian based?
Yes, it was. But then like over time, to be honest, like I kind of started, I wasn't like cussing and stuff, but I was just kind of on some lukewarm stuff where the stuff I was putting out was just like, I was just vibing.
Mm-hmm.
And uh that's kind of whenever I started getting like more local attention,
Mm-hmm.
and my stuff started getting better and like people liked it, but it wasn't like Christian music. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? God maybe put a line or two, but like it was just songs, you know.
And how did you then get into Christian music?
Yeah, so I was all the cool part is I was always into it. So like I listened to Lecrae middle school, like so always around that. But and I was trying to make it at first. The first stuff I was making was Christian, but for me, like as a career, I really started to I had a moment in college where God literally called me to give up everything I was doing.
Mm.
So I deleted all my songs like in college.
Yeah.
This is around that time I'm telling you about, like when I'm growing a lot and stuff. Like it became a season where I was just like cutting it all out. Like deleted all my songs. Like I literally just put out a song in college. I was doing well. Like and like people around my campus, it was resonating with it and stuff. And I just deleted it. You know what I mean? Like it was like I deleted all of it, and that was hard for me because that's all I had. But
Yeah.
God, like after that, it was like He gave me a whole new focus, and I started to change like the heart of my music over time. And it was still a process, but over time, He started teaching me how to create like from His spirit, and that's what I was really craving.
Mm-hmm.
It's like make stuff from Him, and so yeah. That moment was big for me, for real.
I'm sure. I mean, it literally changed the whole trajectory of your life.
The whole thing. Yeah, actually, I never even thought of it like that. Yeah, it did. It's wild.
So
Yeah.
you were listening to Lecrae, you start making, God tells you to drop out of college. God tells you to be a college dropout. Not Kanye, but God. Um, then you start making music that's more focused towards Christian.
I mean, to be honest, too, in 20, right before I moved to Atlanta, like, I mean, God gave me like the vision for like Broken Heart, which is the EP I have out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, He gave me the vision for it. Like, so I came into Atlanta with this vision. Like, yo, I got this project and this is what I'm doing. And I did it, and Reach picked it up. That's what's crazy was like, God gave me that joint, like before, like all that.
Yeah. So, okay. So you
Yeah.
make the decision to drop out of college and you're just like, I'm moving to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so you have the vision to make the project, but you don't make it until you actually get to Atlanta.
Yep.
Okay. And at that time, you were what, working at Publix cleaning toilets?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was rough. It was good though. I learned a lot from that. But yeah, that's how I was funding it. You know, that's how I was gonna fund it. But then, if I remember it right, I remember the dude I was working with, Zach Paradise. That man was just blessing me. He was like, "Hey, bro, to be honest, I'm not gonna charge you." Like, or he gave me like a heavy discount. I mean, we was working every week on this thing
Yeah.
to the point where we started seeing it become something. We're like, "Bro, this is dope. Like, this is beautiful." And then at that time, the A&R at Reach was kind of hearing it, and then he then that's around the time that they started getting ready to sign me. So yeah.
So would you put it out on just SoundCloud or was it all on all platforms at that time?
It wasn't even out.
So how did Reach?
Me and the A&R at Reach had a relationship.
Okay.
In college, I sent him a demo, and he liked it, and so we were talking like for a long time, but nothing really came of it until like a couple of songs I made. And these songs I would send to him. Like I wouldn't put them out sometimes. Like, So the song that like put me on his radar, like had him like, oh, this I can sign, like this kid's got it. It's a song that's never came out.
Oh, really?
But it showcase what I could do. You know what I mean? So yeah. But yeah, basically that's why like I would keep sending him stuff. And when he saw that I could make it my own project, like and direct it myself and like the way it came together, he was like, man. So yeah.
I mean, that's God right there. So how soon, what's the time span from when you moved to Atlanta and then you signed with Reach?
Yeah, it was from I signed in July, moved in there in January. So February, March, April, so 6 months.
Wow.
And I wasn't even on there, right? Like when I moved in January.
Yeah.
Like, cause me and the A&R we were building at the time, and before I moved to these are good details to know too. Before I moved to Atlanta, he brought me to Atlanta, like just to come like for this event called A3C, and I came out there for that and just kind of built. He took me to the office to Reach just to kind of hang out. We were just building that weekend. He took me to a showcase. Another moment where I freestyled.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was at a secular event, like in a studio, like
Okay.
a big time like secular studio. He took me and I freestyled in front of like 100 people, and that was like a big moment too.
Heck yeah.
Uh, I forget about that moment. I shouldn't, because that was a big moment. I'll never forget that.
You put on the
Uh,
spot right there too. It's
yeah, that was a
it's
moment.
go out or
Sheesh.
go home.
That joint was a moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, he brought me up, and then but then when I came back to Brunswick, like from that trip over time, I remember him just being like, "Man, just don't think it's gonna work." Like he just literally thought, like, "Man, I just like," he's like, "Bro, see, I just don't think I have the time to like develop an artist right now.
Mhm.
Like, are you still moving to Atlanta?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm still moving." So basically, like he cut it off, but I stayed with it. I
Okay.
mean, I'm probably within a month after I moved, he went and had lunch with me. So God's hand was on it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And I think that was the enemy trying to keep me from getting up there. But I stayed the course anyways and moved and got plugged in with a guy named Scott Free. Started doing ministry. Like it was so cool because man, every step of the way, God's hand guided me. So
Right on.
yeah,
Okay. So now you're titled as Lecrae's protege.
wow.
Went from listening to him to being his protege.
Hmm.
Like how, let's just talk about that full circle moment right there.
Yeah, it's pretty surreal because like I mean he was like my favorite artist like in middle school, and some high school. So to be able to be like a voice to people like he was for me is like a blessing, you know. It's like I mean that dude's stuff like God uses speaking to my life so many years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think I'll consider myself one of the man's biggest fans. You know what I mean? So it was cool because like I got to now I'm getting to step in those shoes,
Mm-hmm.
and oh no, it's like really humbling because like I don't deserve this at all, but it's really just a blessing I think, and just the opportunity for me to speak to people and just have favor. So it's crazy. Like don't get me wrong, it's crazy, but I know that that's not where my worth is at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because one day I won't be that, and so I got to remember who I am. You know.
Right on. Okay. So let's talk about your debut album, The Heart of
Yes.
Christopher.
So yeah, it's called Christopher. Like
Okay.
the heart of Christopher is like it was like a brief that I wrote, like just to help people understand the songs.
Okay.
Like I felt like just giving it some context.
Got it. So why did you feel the need to write the context? Give us
Well, yeah.
context.
So our A&R was like, "Hey, bro, you should write something for the label," because we were presenting it to the label. So he gave me that idea, and I said, "Yeah." I just really quickly wrote it all down, and yeah, I just felt like it was just important just to, hey, this is what the song means. Because for the label to hear it, they can really get an understanding of like, okay, cool. Like this is what he's trying to do, what he's
Yeah.
trying to accomplish, you know?
And so what is it for those who haven't read that or aren't aware yet? I mean, this is going to come out when the album comes out, so by then they would have heard it. But let's just talk about Christopher and what it means to you.
Yeah. So the name Christopher means Christ bearer. And this whole, album is really just, it's diving into who I am, but also like it also takes a dive into some of the darkness or some of the things that I've also experienced. Like there's a song in there called Ninth Grade where I talk about just being in school, wanting to feel accepted, or Cold Nights where I talk about just being so anxious and you know what I mean, like just wanting to be better, wanting to be free. And I think like the whole kind of premise of the album is at the end of the day, the last song, Washing the Blood, just talks about being free. And so I think the whole thing is what I've always been about. And kind of coming off of my last one is, hey, like, be free because he's paid for you to be free. And
Mm-hmm.
like, man, my true identity is in him. as in who he paid for me to be. And that the whole album kind of will take you through that. Like, it's kind of like, it's like one of them joints where it's like, you know, like we listen to an album and it's like super conceptual and like, it's like a story. Like, this is a story, but it's loose in a good way where you get to get pieces of me. Like, you listen, you grabbing different pieces of who I am and what he's done in my life. And then at the end, you're able to put it all together and go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. Like, so yeah. The heart behind it is that, you know, I pray that people will get to listen to it and be like, man, I want to be free. I want to know who I am. You know what I mean? Like, I want to know that he can redirect my story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he can work powerfully in my life. Just, you know what I mean? Just as he has in Hulveys. That's what I hope that's what I hope people take from it. You know?
Okay. And just so people understand, right? Your first name is Christopher in real life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And last name's Hulvey. So, all right. So let's move on to the 4-song breakdown. There's 4 songs that I would like for you to just kind of break down and talk about. And the first being Back in the Wick. I did get to hear the album, so I mean, you snapped on that one, and
Thank you.
Rocked so hard. I love the little piano keys in it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. Let's talk about Back in the Wick.
Yeah. Man, that joint, first of all, shout out to my manager, Pat, because, man, that song, I love Reach, but they ain't really believe in that song like that.
Really?
And Pat was like, bruh, y'all tripping. Y'all tripping. We putting that song out. Yeah. So shout out to Pat. And Reach ended up coming to grips with like, all right, let's do it. But like RA and our team, it was just like a little, you know, hey, we believe in this, so can we do it? You know, so I made that song in one night. I was at Reach. Me and my manager, Patrick Bradley, had just became my manager. He flew to Atlanta. He was with me for some stuff. And then I think he's with me for a big video shoot. And then it was so cool because he was with me in the studio. We were up to like 6 in the morning or 4 in the morning. I don't even know what time, 4 or 6, whatever. And I finished the whole record that night. And the whole concept of the record is to just share some of my story, share some of my convictions, take people back to like, give them that sound that sound that I love, like that Brunswick sound. Like what you're hearing, like, is super like that raw, like just raw hip hop. Like that's kind of how it is back home. Like Southern, like the drums got to slap and everything I'm saying got to resonate. Like that's how it is back home. So
okay,
yeah.
And Reasons, the single with Lecrae, and how do you pronounce
Sir Cena?
Sir Cena?
Sir Cena.
Okay. Well, this is the first time I heard of her, but her voice is amazing. So,
yeah, she bodied it.
Yeah, she did. Let's talk about that song.
Yeah, man, that joint was real because first of all, I'm talking about loss. Losing my granddad, that was hard. So I talk about that. Also talk about just for myself, like just nights of anxiety that I went through and kind of how like just expressing that, but also expressing how Jesus like can pull you out of that. And so that's kind of the song. It was really simple. It's like, hey, you have pain, he has hope. And it's like, man, you don't, like, you can't keep, like she's saying, you can't keep going at a rate like this, like running from your life when you're meant to live. So it's like, keep on breathing. So for me, it was just an opportunity to just throw out a fishing rod and be like, hey, there is hope. Like, stop running away, like, from what he has for you to do, and stop being ashamed of your past, because within your past, like, there's opportunity for healing because he's died for that. Like, he took all that past on himself. So yeah, that was a beautiful moment to share hope, you know.
And the decision to have Lecrae and Sir Cena on it.
Yeah, so it's so cool. So originally, this is Sir Cena's hook. she sent it, and I heard it, and I was like, man, this is dope. So it was sent out to Reach, and they were kind of pitching it around, and I said, man, I love this. So I took it on. I did 2 verses. Then what happened is Lecrae heard it, and he was like, yo, I want to get on it. So I didn't even ask Lecrae to be on the song. He wanted to be on the song, which was so cool to me because I don't like stuff to be forced.
Yeah.
You know, so he did. He hopped on. That's what's been cool is like the features on this album, like Lecrae and Andy both wanted to be on the records that they were on. I wasn't really asking.
Yeah.
Like, that's what was so dope to me. Like, so dope. You know?
Right on.
Yeah.
And well, Andy, the Andy features what I want to talk about next, We Against the World.
Yeah. I love that song. That song is coming out by the time this interview comes out, it won't be a thing, but at right now in this present moment, it is coming out this week. And that song I love it because both me and Andy were singing about 2 different things. I'm singing about me and him, we against the world, like me and God. And not like people, like the world, like not trying to like say, oh, I'm against you, but like the system, the things that are coming against like my heart, you know, and just the world in general, like it's a battle, you know what I mean? And then with Andy, he was speaking from the context of people, like banding together with people. And I love that because both of those are the gospel. Both of those are what Jesus laid out, to love God, like the gospel of the kingdom, to love God and to love people. And I think it was so cool that we got to bring those 2 concepts together into one record. And I'm trying to remember, we shot a video for it like a month ago or a couple weeks ago, and it just came out so good. And all of it was just a blast. Like the song for me came naturally. Like I was in the studio, the whole hook and post hook came together in the same session. Okay. Same session. And then Andy cut his verse in his room during quarantine. So it was cool, like how it all came about.
So you made the song, he heard it, and then wanted to jump on it.
Yeah, and at first I was like, nah, I think I'm gonna have it for myself, for real. And then they were like, bruh, he would kill this. You need to put this man on his song. And I did.
Well, it's funny because it sounds like an Andy Mineo song.
I know.
Like before, like I saw who the features were gonna be, and I'm just listening. I'm not looking like what track is what. But as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh, this is the Andy Mineo feature.
Yeah, exactly. It was right down his lane. For me, I just like what's good. I'm not ever trying to chase the big name. I care. These records mean a lot to me, for myself. So, it was so cool though. Like I had to humble myself. Like, no, Andy's dope, and he would smash this. It was more so just like, man, I feel like I could do this myself because I had an idea like for my own verse. And I ended up putting a verse on it, but like, man, I'm so thankful that he was on it because, yeah, he smashed. He went crazy.
Well, I mean, it's not bad that your debut, like official debut album, both singles have videos, and one with Lecrae and one with Andy Mineo.
Yeah, no, it's a blessing. And that's reality is I got blessed. And I'm thankful. You know what I mean? Yeah. Despite my own selfishness sometimes. You know.
And let's talk about Eternal.
Yeah, hey. Good grab. Some people don't ask, man, that's the sleeper on there.
Yeah. Well, this is only the 4-song breakdown, so of course I gotta pick Lecrae and Andy to talk about, but there were other songs on there too I want to talk about, and Eternal was definitely one. I had to decide. I'm like, there's like some other ones I wanted, but let's do Eternal.
Yeah, man, I loved it. So I wrote that song. Man, that song for me is like it's such an expression of what I feel like in my heart, where it's like I can feel his eternity in my heart. Like, man, like, oh, I'm gonna be with him forever. And in the song, like I remember some of that, what was it, the first verse, I wrote it outside, looking at the trees. So when I said sitting down thinking, staring at the trees, seasons come and go, but you don't ever leave, I was literally writing that outside, like looking at the trees, just man, like, you know, so I'm writing on paper.
Yeah.
And it was just so cool. And that song, I just hope that song is for the ones who might be caught up on Instagram, the glitz and glam of the world. And say, hey, don't forget, you know,
Yeah.
don't forget what really matters.
Real. So I mean, just the whole like bottom part of the album with that and Holy Spirit, and you mentioned earlier was the Blood song, the final song. I mean, I'm assuming that was all intentional to kind of to layer it up like that, to put all of that right at the bottom.
All of it, super intentional.
Yeah.
So like, I'm guessing for you, it's cool that you could tell, because that was the goal. Was I wanted that to feel, you know, I wanted it to feel like a spiritual journey, because like the battle was, hey, are we stacking too much light at the end? Are we doing? Is it too slow? And man, I realized, like, man, I'm tripping, dog. This is a journey, and you can track it. The whole album is getting tracked. Like the first two tracks is kind of like layered, like giving you context for the rest of the album. But then it gets into the story and it starts taking you deep into the pain, and then like the solution. The end is all the solution, like all of it.
Yeah.
And I think too, it's like, oh, he can do that. Oh, he's making praise music. Oh, he's making gospel trap, like all that type of stuff. The end of the album is definitely like, it hits home, like, you know what I mean? But the beginning I like too, because it's like musically like current. The beginning is like my current expression, like 2021. That's what the beginning sound like, you know?
Yeah. No, you definitely can feel it. It's crazy that you were thinking like, is it too much light at the end? Like, no, never too much light at the end.
Oh,
But
good.
yeah, I mean, even if you're like in a different place spiritually, like if you're not on the same journey as Christopher, but maybe you've been there, it's almost like it brings you back to that. So as I like,
I appreciate that.
yeah, it brought me back to that. So I immediately like just felt that again. So
I appreciate that.
yeah.
Seriously. Wow. Yeah, that's what it's for. Like, if there's that, that's what I make it for. Like, if people can go, man, cool. Like, man, God, I hear you. You know, because for me, I'm like, if you can't tell already, my stuff, like, some of it is really simple, like really simple. Some of it is really intricate, but most of it, it's like it's coming from my heart. I'm not trying to be too complicated, because that's just not me. Like, I'm a simple dude, you know. Yeah.
Just make it sound nice. And I mean, that's also the cool thing though, because you may say that you're simple, but your music just capabilities are not simple at all.
Oh, thank you.
Pull from like different genres, and it's not like, oh, he only makes trap. Oh, he does pop. Like, you literally do it all.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love all the music. That's all my influences in one. Like, if you can hear this, that's me. Like, that's Christopher. And what's funny too, this album was not going to be titled Christopher. I wanted Christopher to be my next album. This album was only an EP. And then the Holy Spirit literally showed me, my manager, and our A&R, like, hey, this is Christopher, and you actually have an album, not an EP. So add all the more songs. It was crazy. Like, God just did the whole thing. I look back and I'm like, oh my goodness, man. Like, that's crazy that he could see all that before we can, because he's God, you know?
Well, speaking of, so how does God's presence look like in your life musically?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's get into that. Creatively, like, sometimes just be in the studio, like washing the blood. Like, that joint came right after communion, that me and this dude named Taylor Hill, Lecrae, Tadashi, Biz, and an engineer from Reach, we were all in the same room and we took communion. That song came right after that moment, literally freestyle.
Yeah.
Like, I freestyled that song. That whole song was not written.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
From the Spirit. Like, we was in there yelling, like feeling his presence. Like, it was crazy. So yeah, that was that song. And the way that came about was from his presence. I felt his presence that whole time. The joint was beautiful. Even as a joint on the deluxe album that will be coming out, that came from those sessions too, which is really crazy. Eternal. I'm outside listening to, just being with him, writing. Nothing without Jesus. I was in my room on my knees with the mic, recording myself. The mic far away from me, just with him, just crying out, you know. Where the love go, even. Like, in the funniest way, I was writing that, talking about gossip and all this stuff with the Lord that night before. Just like, give me the words. You know, the intro, talking about what I saw in the gas station, saw what God did, like healing a woman. Talking about my friends that I've seen, like, come to know him, like writing about all that. So he is the center of all my stuff, like everything I do. Right. Even 9th grade, like hopefully somebody can hear that and hear like, dang, okay, like you've been through that, but man, God's delivered you. So yeah.
No, I mean, that record right there is definitely going to touch a lot of teenagers and early adults who can recall back to that time. So
yeah, thank you.
Definitely going to do a lot. Okay, so my final question, now that you've gone through this process, who would you like to see me interview on the show? And just FYI, I interviewed Rockstar JT and he said you.
Really?
So yeah.
Really? That's my brother.
Yeah.
That dude's got a testimony. Tory Deshawn would be a good one because he's just got a lot of he's got a lot of layers, and yeah, his music is just super, like, you can deep dive it, like it's good. Like, I recommend, like, he has an EP called Boopy, and that's his nickname that they call him. Okay. And it's dope. Like, that was like from like 2018, and then he just put out a song with like No Big Deal. Like, he's really dope. But Tory Deshawn, also I recommend Big Breeze. He's somebody that I've been kind of just trying to be there for. It's my brother. He's actually the other feature on my album.
Yeah, when you said that, I recognize his name from there, but that was the first time I've heard of him.
Yeah, he was on Where the Love Go, and he's a dude out of Atlanta. He's been through it all. He's really from the streets. Like, you know, some people are like, man, I'm from the streets. It's like, no, he's really from the streets. He's really seen it. He's seen it and done it. So his testimony is crazy. Also, another dude toss out there would be 350. These are all upcoming dudes that I just really resonate with. He's from Texas. And I know he's been through so much. And just hearing how God's like been there with him, and even using his wife and like his brother in his life has been crazy. So yeah, those are the three I'd recommend for sure.
Right on. I will definitely look into them. I heard the name Tory Deshawn. I can't think of the music, but I'm pretty sure I heard his stuff on like playlists. Big Breeze I heard on your album, and 350 I'm not familiar with.
He wrote on 350 wrote on Cold Nights with me.
Okay, sweet. Yeah. And is it the number 350 or does he spell it out? Okay.
The number, it's 5. 350.
Okay.
Marketable. Yeah.
Hey, what's up? Thank you. Thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for watching the show. However you consume us, thank you. Please subscribe to the show. And if you really enjoy the content, please leave a review. It really does help with the ranking of the show. And if you want to go an extra mile, share the show. Share this episode. And for all things testimony, visit testimonystories.com. Until next time, I'm Gilika Brown, the music lover constantly seeking positive music.